What's up, y'all? Happy New Year. It is now year 7 at the Atelier, and by now we've done hundreds of bespoke projects, and it's been something that we're kind of known for now. And by now we've done hundreds of suits, wedding dresses, costumes, a bunch of crazy shit. And also, a lot of people have been asking us to do longer format videos for YouTube and whatever. And we also figured, hey, why not? It might be a good time for us to get more in depth about what we actually do and work at the studio. And it's been kind of crazy doing all of these things. It's a lot of hard work, but I think it's pretty cool that people from all over the world now come to us to make their crazy visions and ideas into reality. But also, I think it's something to be proud of, because when you start getting into bespoke and start making garments that are fitted to someone's body, it starts to get scientific, and it's no longer just making a t-shirt or like a pair of jeans ready to wear kind of business. And no shade to anybody who does that. Like we all came up doing that too. But this is, in order to excel and be able to turn around these bespoke projects, you have to be very technically sound and have a great team and be really good at making clothes. So all fittings start here for us in the white room. This is where a room that we've built out in our atelier strictly for fittings. We have the black room, which is our showroom where we keep all our pieces, and this is the white room where we do all of our fittings. And the reason why there's 2 people doing the fitting, me and John, is for a few reasons. One is it's easier for 2 people because I've done fittings alone, and it gets confusing sometimes when I have to measure, write down, and there's been situations where I've measured and I've like blanked out and had to measure again. So it's more efficient, and 2, it allows both of us to see the person, see their style, see their body, and also bounce ideas off of each other for the type of clothing they want. And it's good conversation. And when we do the fittings together, we often tell the client, we should do this, you should try that. And when both of us are there, I think it's overall better. And it's fun, I think. It becomes a core memory for some of our clients because I think they are not shocked, but, appearance. And we've had clients tell us that it was a very interesting experience, how 2 bald-headed Asian fools told them to strip down, and we took their measurements. And I think that's kind of interesting. We've got stories.
Yeah, we got a few clients who said that the experience was very intimate and they enjoyed it on a professional level. It's a very intimate personal experience because we're measuring them. Most of the time they're down to
Very vulnerable.
Very minimal. Because we have to measure the body. You got to get as close to the skin as possible for anything bespoke or custom from us.
And a lot of people in general have never done this process.
Yeah, right? Even when people get, like, when you go to what's the easy like suit place, like, and even if you get something tailored there, you're never really getting it fully bespoke where you're getting each measurement. And you'll see, from our sheet what we measure.
So there's a few essentials that we need for our fittings. One is this step stool here. When the customer comes and it's time for them to start, we ask them to please step on here. And the reason for that is it's easier for us to measure them when they're a little bit higher up. It's easier to see where the garment's going to fall or where it should fall and things of that matter. But it's also a formality, putting them on a stage, having them, it's about you, please step this way, that kind of vibe too. So that's one essential here is the step stool. Another one, obviously we need a measuring tape to measure. We have this elastic cord, which is very essential. And this is kind of a bungee cord. You could use elastic or just anything stretchy, and you'll see what this is for in a second when we get to the actual fitting. And lastly, we have our own measurement sheet where it has all of these points of measure that we need in order for us to successfully make a bespoke pattern and ultimately the piece.
Yeah, and all these are measurements that we take, but there are points where, we'll add in or we'll take out certain measurements, but these are like the main key points that we need for our bespoke pieces.
Yeah, and getting the right measurements is very important to me. If I have the right measurements, I can't be wrong. And I've gotten measurements sent to me by other people, and it was totally off sometimes. And like I said, we've done this hundreds of times. We've kind of made our own adjustments and methods along the way. And we will be showing you how we do these fittings now. Okay, so now it's time to start the fitting. So we have Moises here, going to be our subject for the day.
He has to take his clothes off.
He got to take his clothes off. So whenever we do fittings, we ask our clients if they can, please wear a tank top and just like some regular pants, nothing too baggy. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to tell them to, hey, please relax. Put your hands to your sides, just natural. Sometimes I like to keep the client away from the mirror. And I've noticed when they're facing the mirror, they're acting unnatural. Like they try to suck their belly in and stand more taller than they do. But that could kind of mess up the fit. So I ask them, please relax, keep your hands to your side, stay in your natural position. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of analyze their body and maybe ask a couple questions like, do you work out? This fool works out, right? So people that work out, their posture is naturally a little bit straighter versus people who don't. Their shoulders and their posture is a little bit more forward facing. So the first thing that I do is I kind of look at them, see where certain areas are accentuated more than others. So Moy works out, and I can notice that he has a kind of a larger back than normal people who don't work out. His back is coming out a little bit more. So all of these things are notes that I'm taking in my head. So I do a little spin around, look at them. And cool. So I took all of my mental notes, which I'm going to actually write down after the fitting. So please face this way. And this bungee cord that I showed you earlier is to identify where the waist is, because a lot of these measurements are going to fall or relate to where the waist placement is. So I'm going to ask, please put your arms up for a second. And I'm gonna tie this cord where the waist is. So the waist is naturally the most narrow part of somebody's torso. So I'm gonna look, and it looks to be somewhere right here. And I'm gonna tie this cord, just a single knot, kind of tight, not to the point where I'm constricting him, but to the point where it's secured and it's not gonna fall off. So just a single knot. Put your arms down for me, please. And another important part is I have to check that this rope is leveled, meaning that it's horizontal and not higher and lower on each side. So I'm gonna look, make sure that this is leveled, and adjust this cord to where I think it's leveled and it indicates the natural waist. Okay, so that's the first step. I have this cord tied onto his waist. And now we're ready to start taking some measurements. Ready, John?
Aye, aye.
So the first measurement that I'm going to take, I'm going to ask you to turn this way for me all the way, is going to be the shoulder across measurement. And this sequence is just something that I've developed. There's no, right order for these measurements, but I like to start with the shoulder. So if you see somebody's shoulder, this is their arm, it starts to dip and round out right here. And this is where I start the shoulder measurement. Maybe from this dip, like a ½ inch down. So from here, I'm gonna identify right there and just go in a straight line to the other side. Just gonna double check. And the shoulder measurement looks to be about 19 3/4.
And we're doing this in inches.
And we're doing this in inches because we're American. People talk so much shit about inches, and honestly, it doesn't really make sense, but I don't know how to use centimeters.
What do you mean? Centimeters makes more sense.
Centimeters makes more sense, for sure.
But we're American.
But we're American. We're stupid Americans.
Well,
so we got the shoulder measurement, 19 3/4. The next measurement I'm going to take is the sleeve length. Because I started at the shoulder, I'm going to go here. From the same point where I started the shoulder measurement, a little bit before the dip, I'm going to go straight down from this line. And you see how the arm curves a little bit? So I'm going to tilt the tape a little bit and just go straight down to his wrist. And everybody has a bone right here. And I personally like to go about ½ inch past the bone. And this goes back to where I said I developed my own methods kind of through trial and error, because I used to measure to the bone. And then the sleeves were always a little bit too short. So I've tried going ½ inch more, and it's worked pretty well for me. So Moy's sleeve length is right about 24. What's the next one?
We can do center back down to waist.
Center back down to waist. So the reason why I have this is to indicate the waist, I said. So the center neck to the waist is right there where you want the garment to sit. It's about from this, if there's like an imaginary straight line going from where the neck starts, you want to go about quarter or half an inch above it and start right about here. And I'm measuring straight down to where I put the elastic cord around it. So that's at about 15 and a quarter. Okay, and this helps a lot because if I don't have this placement, the measurements are going to be off. I might measure from here, I don't know. But this just keeps that waist point steady.
You have back across.
Back across. So this is about from the shoulder to the armpit. You have this much here, and you're going from about the center where this dip is. That's where your sleeve is going to start. So imagine, this is where the sleeve is going to go, and you're going to go across from the back in a straight line to about where this arm begins. So Moy's back is at about 15 and a half.
Okay, we can move to the front.
Front across. So face this way for me, please. I'm basically doing the same thing that I did in the back, but on the front. So from this indent, gonna go in a straight line again. It's gonna give me about 13 and a half. So the front across is always going to be a little bit less than the back because the back is more wide.
And then high point shoulder to waist.
So another time where this comes in handy, I'm going to go from the high point shoulder, which is the highest point of the shoulder on a person. Going to go from here, straight line down to the waist, and it's going to give me about 14 and 3/4 actually. So the next measurement we're going to take is the bust, and the bust is essentially the widest point of the chest. So that usually falls right around where the nipple lands. So for this measurement, we're going to be taking the entire circumference of somebody's chest, whereas with those other measurements, I was just more so getting straight lines. So for this measurement, I ask you to put your arms up, and I'm going to go from the back, tie my tape around. And for these circumference measurements, I like to go a little bit tight, not too tight to the point where it's restricting, but just so I have a very accurate measurement, and then I'll add this eases on the seam allowances later. And also you want to make sure that it's leveled. His chest is at 35 and a quarter. That's the bust. Arms down close.
Do you want to do the out seam?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do the out seam.
So the out seam is for making a pair of pants. So this also depends on what kind of pants we're doing. If we're talking to the client, what kind of pants do you want? Do you want it to be high-waisted? Do you want it to be mid, or do you want it right here on the hip bone? So for the out seam measurement, turn to the side for me. I'm going to measure from wherever I want the pants to fall to wherever I want it to end, here. And also we like to ask our clients to bring appropriate shoes. So we do a lot of weddings. And we like to ask them, do you have the shoes that you're going to be wearing for the wedding? Because it's just more accurate that way. And we can cut the pants to exactly where we want it to fall. So the outseam measurement, let's say for Moy, we're going to make pants that sit right above the belly button. So I'm going to identify where that is. It's about right here. And I'm going to measure down all the way. And we like to make our pants fall right to the heel. So this measurement is going to be about 43 inches.
Then his waist.
And then the waist, we've already identified where the waist is. So I'm going to be doing the same thing, wrapping around, kind of tight. That measurement is 31. Navel.
Yep.
The navel or the belly is right below the waist, and it's going to be kind of the gut where the belly button lands. Same thing, we're getting circumferences now. That's going to fall at about 33 and a quarter. So on Moy, the navel was 2¼ inches bigger than his waist. All things that we're going to consider when we make the pattern. What's the next one? The hip?
Yeah, good as hips.
You got a wallet on you?
Nope.
Got anything in your pockets?
Yeah, you always want to make sure the client has things out of their pockets so that we can get as close to their body as possible.
Okay, and the hip is the same thing. We're going to be getting the widest point of the hip or the ass or the butt, whatever you want to call it. But this is an essential measurement for drafting pants. So we'll ask you one more time to get, and again going on the widest point of the hip, making sure that it's leveled. See, right now it wasn't leveled. You see how it was kind of lower than where I want it to be. So I'll adjust the widest point, come back around, pull it together, check again, make sure that it's leveled. And we're at about 38 5/8. And then going to be moving on to the bicep. And I get the widest point of the bicep. 11 5/8. Look at the neck. Wrap it around. 16¼ Look at the wrist. The wrist, we're at 7½. And then the last measurement we're going to get is the thigh. Again, the widest point, we're at about 17 3/4.
Are you gonna get his inseam?
So the inseam, I don't do, because for the most part, I make a muslin and then I adjust. And also, I don't think it's really necessary. If you know how to draft a pattern and you have your formula straight, you shouldn't really have problems on the rise. So the inseam, it's just also kind of like a weird measurement. It's kind of sus. Like you have to like really get in there, and I've done fittings with no inseam and I just adjust it after. The outseam is good enough for me. But you can do the inseam, but it's also hard because all pants are different with the rise. So you can't really accurately measure the inseam. That's all the measurements that we need. Any notes, John?
Nope.
What do you think about Moy's body?
It's hot.
It's cool. He's like, so looking at the measurements now, his chest is, so he's like a size medium, but he has a larger back. The back is like a medium large. The hip is like a medium large, but his torso is like a small medium. So these are all things that you're gonna have problems with when you're buying ready to wear. Like, do you have problems with clothes sometimes? What's like your biggest problem that you face when you buy ready to wear clothing?
It's hard to find a perfect fitting t-shirt.
T-shirt? Well, what's the issue usually?
It's small on the arms.
Small on the
Only
arms.
fits the torso.
Exactly, because he has a bigger back, and then the back gets stretched out, and then which ultimately leads to a weird fit on the arm. Accurate?
Yes.
Well, I mean, even these pants here, if you look, stretches a little bit more here. You could do with a little bit more of a give on this side, which we would do for a bespoke piece. But overall, looks pretty good.
Yeah, and just doing so many fittings, everyone's body is so unique, and that's why Bespoke is so cool, because once you get the piece, you can realize, like, wow, once you have a piece that's made and measured to your body, you can really feel the difference. And I'll stand on that. And it could get very bespoke. When I went to tailoring school, one of the craziest things I've heard was they were trying to teach us that, you know, there's a way where you adjust the pattern. So like, let's say we're doing the fitting, and then some tailors will, they'll look at when you're putting the pants on, they'll see which side your thing falls under, like if it goes to the left or the right. And then according to that, they make small pattern adjustments so it falls more comfortably. Yeah, so it could get very bespoke if you wanted to. And that was our fitting.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very
Thank you
much.
for coming. Thank you for your time. We will make you something eventually. I promise.
Can I get my clothes back?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. Thank you. Come again.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. Leave a like, drop a comment. This is our first video. Maybe we'll do more, maybe we won't. And this YouTube thing is also goes back to adapting. I would have never thought I would have been doing this, but I am. Thank you for watching again. Thank you for your support. We got a lot of cool projects that we're working on. We got an exciting collaboration coming out next month. So thank you always, and try it. Try doing these measurements, try drafting a pattern with them, Try it with your mom, your grandma, your best friend, your neighbor. I don't know. Thank you.